Hello, class. This is Alec again. Today we're starting in on chapter 3, which is all about supply and demand. We'll start in with demand first. I think it's easier for students to understand because it's just more intuitive. When you buy stuff, you are part of the demand curve. So let's look at, I have what's called 6 levels of analysis. This comes from political science. It simply means that we're going to slice and dice demand and then supply in 6 different ways so we can better understand the concepts. So demand as a concept, our first starting point here, let's get my yellow going, is the definition of demand is a relation that shows the various quantities that buyers are willing and able to purchase at alternative prices in a given time period. This is important right here. Willingness and ability. The willingness is subjective. You don't buy goods and services that you don't like. Okay, the able or ability is more objective. You recall that households, our assumptions regarding households and economics is that you are utility maximizers subject to an income constraint. You want to be as happy as possible, but you're limited by your income. Ability refers to your income. Now, I've underlined and read 3 different items here: quantities and prices in a given time period. I like my general functional form, so I'm going to come down here and say, you know what, instead of trying to remember or memorize this definition, just think of it this way. The quantity demanded for good one is a function of its own price, ceteris paribus. That ceteris paribus means in a given time period. Okay? It's called partial equilibrium analysis. You're looking at the market in a moment of time, and you're going to describe that market and then look at it again and see what happens. So that's the first level of analysis. The second level of analysis, let's get some numbers. I have over here what's called a demand schedule. It's nothing more than a table showing the various quantities demanded at alternative prices. Price now is your independent variable, and QD is your dependent variable. QD as a function of P. So I would list out my price. Price is going to be dollars per unit. I would list out my price, and then this person would respond, this hypothetical person would respond how much they're willing and able to buy at each price. At a price of $5, the price is too high. This person's not going to buy any. As the price drops, the quantities demanded increase. So you can clearly see that there's a negative relationship here. It's an inverse relationship. Is it linear or nonlinear? Well, kind of hard to tell, but then you can see, well, incrementally, things change the same as I go from price to price to price on this left-hand side. So I could then say, well, I think it's a linear relationship. But you had to really look hard to figure that out. So now we go, okay, now I've got numbers. Let's take these numbers and let's form our model. Okay, let's look at the demand curve. I've already plotted the numbers out here to the right, but let's connect them. I have at a price of $5, nothing will be purchased. At a price of $4, 5 units would be demanded. At a price of $3, 10 units would be demanded. So all I have to do now is connect the dots, and here is now the demand curve for good one. You can clearly see the negative slope. Moreover, you can clearly see the linear function, downward sloping and to the right. All demand curves will look like this. Now notice the nice thing about the model is things become easier to understand. We've taken the numbers over here and we've simply transposed them into a graph. This is our model. This is why we try it model. Okay. So then I'm going to talk about this negative slope. This negative slope is referring to, go back to my yellow, the law of demand. What does that say? Is all demand curves will slope down and to the right. Okay. Now that slope can change. but all demand curves have a negative slope. What does this mean for you and me? It means this: if the price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. People buy less at a higher price. If the price goes down, the quantity demanded goes up. People buy more at a higher price. So now we've got our law of demand. Again, not the theory of demand, but the law of demand. It means it always holds. It means demand curves always slope down and to the right. That was point number 4. Or level analysis number 5 is market demand. Market demand is nothing more than the sum of all individual demands. I'm going to ask you a question here, and I'm going to give you a brief second to think about it. You can actually pause your movie and think about it and then restart it. Market demand is the sum of individuals' demands. They call that horizontal summation. Why? Well, the answer is it's horizontal summation because the only things that you add up are on the horizontal axis. The reason being is, let's get psychedelic here. The reason being, going back to this general functional form, is price is your independent variable. Unfortunately, to confuse you a little bit, we put it on the vertical axis, which is typically where the dependent variable resides. But this is the way we graph it in economics. We have price. Price doesn't change. You take a price as given and you respond to it. Now I can put another consumer over here, QD, and just call it QD of Joe, and I could ask him how much he would buy at these various prices. This could be different than mine. To get the market demand, you would simply sum these two columns together. Does that make sense? Okay, now what we're going to do next is I'm going to do another lecture on the 6th level of analysis with respect to demand, and then we'll go on to supply. Talk to you later. Bye.